you're back to 2003 and trying to find land. And that's a whole different, you know, you're really back to ground zero.
I think this gives you probably a different flavor of the area than you had before you came in,
Right.
which I think is a good thing.
I mean, for our perspective, it doesn't have ledge. I mean, it's relatively flat. It doesn't have a bunch of wetlands. I mean, from us looking at raw lands, not a bad site. But for your perspective, for water and stuff, it is a bad
But
site.
it really is wetland, you just don't know it.
So I think,
You don't
you know,
realize it.
as we said, if this passes in November, definitely need to make sure that this is the primary focus of.
Well, now I know why construction documents have contingency plans, or contingency costs in percent.
Mr. Tibbet?
Yes, I think that's the main point right there. You know, this is coming up for referendum, for a $2 million bond package for the library, right? Okay, we don't want to vote on a $2 million bond package for a library, not knowing what the costs are going to be for getting rid of this water and doing these other projects. We don't want to vote on $2 million and find out it's going to cost us another $1 million to get rid of the water and have other problems down the road. It's going to cost hundreds of thousands. This economy is not great. We don't have a lot of money. And if it was passed, I think it should be passed based on what we should know what the total costs are going to be, not what the $2 million is going to be, but what's it going to cost us after the bond package is passed to get rid of the water, do this other stuff. We don't need to find out that it's not going to be $2 million, but it's going to be $3 million or $4 million. That's what the people want to know. Up front, what's it going to cost and not have any problem. And I don't think we should go into November not knowing that.
John?
I just want to say, too, that the size of the library has a certain impact. It's the impact maybe of building 3 houses there. And it's not, the library project isn't fixing the drainage for the school. And the school's there, and if the school's responsible, it should be part of fixing that situation. But as part of a bond issue, you're not putting in a drainage system for the school. You're talking about basically 3 house lots there. And if the library doesn't go in and people buy that land and build 3 houses, you get the same effect.
We're on the other side, and our house lots are only ½ an acre, so that's 15 houses or better, so.
This is only, the footprint of the actual building is about a little over an acre.
What's the parking lot?
It's about, the parking lots is 4,200 square feet for parking lot, because the way you have it drawn right now.
So the whole lot's roughly 2 acres, or close to it.
Yeah, I'd say
That's
probably
about
2
that.
acres of buildable,
Final comment, Willis.
That field, when I got ready to sell it, I got Steve Cash's act down there. So I thought he might be interested. And he does it down, it was in the summertime, wasn't late summer, but in the summertime. I went down about 4 feet and he got down 5 feet, he said, no, I'm not interested. The water table was too high. The water table was off. And that was in the summertime. Now what the hell do you think it's gonna be with a good dry year, or a wet year?
There's water there now.
When was that development put in?
Oh, that is, 20, 25 years.
Oh, no, 70s, I was one of the houses in the 72.
One they're talking about is one in the field, right?
Oh, down down the field.
Build across from our. Oh, that one? I don't know.
That one's newer.
That's the one you're talking about with the water,
But the trouble is, the water.
Philander Drive.
It goes across the road somewhere, and it goes down through there. That's where the water, and I tell you, the water was running that year. I tell you, when they were headed to school, I said, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble.
A lot of water.
Jack,
I mean, I don't know if we're going anywhere at this point. I think we've gone as far as we can go.
for this evening, I
For
think we
this
have.
evening, I think we have. Thank you for coming down.
This is quite as interesting as the police report, but.
We tried.
Trying to make it more interesting for you.
There's also going to be a public hearing on the referendum question on September 28th.
It's a public hearing, informational meeting on September 28th here, 6 o'clock, I assume. And we'll go into all kinds of issues and all that sort of stuff. Put everything possible on the table.
Mrs. Gaddy?
My only thoughts are, if it's gonna cost this much for the water solution, wouldn't it be much cheaper to look for a different location than to go through all that?
So we don't know what it's gonna cost yet.
I bet it'll cost a lot.
Well, I mean, a lot,
I
but
think
you
you
don't
have to
know.
wait to get the numbers then.
I guess unless you live there, you don't realize the impact that this has on us. It's a real hardship for all of us.
I agree. I hear
There's
that.
things from the past that nobody's talking about.
Excuse me?
There's
Well,
things
we're
from the
not-
past.
We're not going to get into that
Yeah.
discussion tonight. We're here to talk about the library. Mrs. Roper?
I think that before we start judging anything, and before we make any decisions, and you're right, you have to find out first what you're gonna do, what's gonna happen with the water problem. And you're gonna look into that. So I think until we hear everything, we'll have to wait and see, you know? I mean, we can all talk and argue until we're all blue in the face, but you can't have a solution until you know exactly if that's gonna cause a big problem. You have to really look
Have a
at
solution
all
when you know all the
areas.
information.
Mr. Roper?
We also need to know what impact, what the town has started, and hopefully they'll complete this fall, as far as putting in the drainage ditches.
Fred left already.
Yeah.
What kind of help that's gonna give us. And
It might have,
that was what we talked about, is let the town do what they can. If it's still an issue, then the school is the problem, and then the school has to get involved. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so I know Fred left, but do you have any idea if they are gonna dig this out this fall, or?
the last word that I had, they were ordering pipe. It was going to go with a larger pipe than originally planned, so that there was planning for the future rather than just dealing with today's projections. So there was a little bit of a cushion there for the future use. I'm not sure if the piping has come in yet, when Fred plans on getting started. I know that they've done brushing out there. They've done some work to get ready, but I believe it was a lot of waiting for supply to come in.
Yeah, the brush is still there, and it's extremely dry. So I was hoping they'd come and at least put it through a shredder or something
Yeah.
before they catch fire or something.
So we don't know for sure what the timeline is.
No. But it's not going to be years. You know, I mean, it's something that they were getting the supply and they were going to work on getting it done as soon as
We're all excited to
possible.
think it might be before next March, so that when the rains come.
I believe the anticipation was to get it done before the frost got in the ground.
So my only point was, if what the town is doing takes care of some of the problem, and we know now that it doesn't fix it, but we need more help from the school, and then whatever the school can put in may take care of the issue with the library.
Mr. Gaddy?
Could you tell what direction they're gonna go in on that? Which direction to lay in the pipe and so forth?
I don't have the
No,
plan, you know, if we hit up Fred,
because I know they talk two different ways, so I was just curious what they decided on.
yeah, Fred, and I wasn't here that week,
Yeah.
but Fred has the design. Tom, do you remember? I don't think,
I never saw the
Okay.
plan, so
if we can get Fred in, Fred had the design.
Okay.
So. All right. Jack, you were, oh, sorry, Dennis?
When is the road review committee meeting? I mean, I would suggest that you go and attend the road review committee. They will answer any questions relative to where they stand with the ditching.
When that meeting, no, we don't.
They meet
This week? Tomorrow evening?
tomorrow.
Yep, tomorrow night, the road review committee meets upstairs on the old
The
section.
old hall upstairs.
What time?
6.
6. They would have the closest answer you're gonna get without a third party being a meeting.
Right.
And Fred is at those meetings,
Yeah.
so. Jack, did you have more on this?
Somebody give me some names and phone numbers so I can contact somebody. Just need a contact person so I can. right. I must admit, I thought he would have a lot more knowledge than it turned out that he did, unfortunately. The other set of issues that are here, I got an email from Pam LaRue, probably on the 4th of August. And she had an understanding that there was going to be a library and a community center as two separate entities. And once she had that assumption, then she raised a whole set of questions about who's the director, who's going to oversee his policies, hours, is it reopen when the library is not, a whole set of issues around that. Let me be very clear. We're building one building. We're building a library. Now, we got into talking about the community center because when we went to Representative Pingree office and got talking about this, and the first thing they said to us, the Congress has no interest in libraries. They're very interested in community centers. If you think about a library, in many ways, it functions very much like a community center. You've got a single building, you've got people from multi-generations that make use of the building to meet their interests and needs, and you've got a wide variety of activities which draw people together, allow people with shared interests to meet each other, to make connections with each other, and you build a community. So I personally had no trouble you're running for office, Phyllis? That's right. So when the library is doing its job, it's a community center. And when I spoke with Representative Pingree's staff, they held their meetings, you had to justify it before their staff, they held their meetings at the good old library in Sanford. So it was an excellent opportunity to talk with them for, probably talk 10 or 15 minutes of libraries as community centers. And we realized that that's a very significant function of the library. So then we began to talk about it as the new Waterboro Public Library and Community Center, and that seemed to have some traction, and we've begun to use it. But they're not two separate entities. There's one entity, decisions will be made by the librarian, the trustees, interested people, and ultimately you folks will decide what the policies are. Pam was fine with that. She had, once she saw that her assumption was off, then the rest of it made sense to her. Whether other people have made that same thing, I'm glad it was raised. I'm glad to have the opportunity to mention publicly that there's only one building we're doing here. There's one set of policies, one procedures. But in fact, and Debbie Downs did an excellent article in the Reporter probably a month and a half ago now of libraries as community centers. So that's that question.
Okay, very good. I think that's the message.
Could I add something? Sure. When I started out on the trustees, and then Jack joined the trustees, and we worked for, at least a year on a strategic plan. We got a book on how do you run a library when you're trustees and because we felt like we really needed to professionalize the library.
Dave, can you hear her?
Somewhat.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, sure. Dave, are you there?
We're all alone.
My name is Julia McCallum, and I'm president of the trustees of the library. And a little history is that in 2002, a whole new group came in as trustees. Debbie Downs was doing some serious recruiting because she was looking to move on to other things in her life, but she didn't want to abandon the trustees. So there was a whole new group of us. We read a book on how to be good trustees and how to manage your library, and we realized we needed to have a mission statement and a strategic plan, which we worked for a long time on. And what we basically developed was a plan for a community center. We never used the term because it didn't occur to us, but we talked about it as a library, arts, and cultural center. So that was the vision that we set up in the strategic plan, was to have those different dimensions to this, because a library is not what a library was 50 years ago or 80 years ago, and there's so much more that can happen. So I guess I want to not get any impression out that we heard, oh, there might be money for if you call it a community center, so we suddenly morphed into a community center. This is something that was fundamental to the mission statement and the strategic plan that the library trustees developed some years ago. And then Jack, as we started moving more toward the new library, moved from the trustees to the Friends. And I kind of straddle both sides as a non-voting member. So there is a history to what essentially laid the groundwork for what could be honestly, realistically called a community center. Any questions on
I think
that?
you need to bring that kind of explanation to the public hearing.
Okay.
Good. Good,
I
thank
mean,
you.
I think the more that you address those issues at the public hearing, even some of the concerns that these folks have with drainage and whatnot, I mean, let's face it, if the voters say we want a public library, a new public library, and here's $2 million and what money's has already been raised, and the lot becomes not usable because of water issues,
Mhm.
then you're gonna walk away from that lot.
But we
Right?
have
I mean, you don't have a
support
choice,
for
right? So, you know, this doesn't throw down the gauntlet that says, this is what, you know, I mean, it doesn't carve everything in stone.
Right.
I think the message is clear of, does this municipality want, and the voters of this municipality want to move on and raise up to $2 million in bond money to fund this effort? I think it's wonderful that we get a site, but when all's said and done, and I think if you listen to Steve tonight, I think there is viability in the site. The real question is it comes with some perceived baggage from what we already have with some area residents. So I think we got to address that, but the bottom line is let's address all of those things of, because you're not going to have a finite answer on any of this stuff.
No, no. And I was serious about the contingency money.
Yeah.
I mean, there's $232,000 of contingency money. And people think around here of running into ledge and that kind of stuff. Well, we ran into water. Oh, we got to deal with it. But there is some money in the plan to deal with. So, anyway. I think your point is well taken, Dennis, that all this stuff needs to
As much as you can.
put it all out there.
Jack, one of the questions that was posed by Pam when she was here was, do you have a figure or any idea on what it's going to cost to operate the library once, if and when, and hopefully more when than if, the library is built? What's it going to cost per year for operating costs? What can the taxpayers reasonably expect to have to fund?
Matter of fact, I do. I'm not an accountant. I took a crack at developing a projected operating cost for the new library. Why don't I give you the summary, and then if we want, I can give you the 4 pages of what I tried to do and all that kind of stuff. I used the present library budget, which is fiscal 2010, 2011, and that's at $80,000. I estimated the new library expenses for fiscal year 2012, 2013. I did that because I think creating the budget for 2011, 2012 was going to be a nightmare. Because if it passes and you get into someplace during the course of the year, you're probably going to shut down the library, you're into transition funding, all that kind of stuff. And to try to do any kind of comparison using 2011, 2012 just seemed too complicated. The other recommendation I had from the architect is that we look at the Freeport Community Library because it's mechanics, it's engineering stuff, it's the same kinds of things we're putting into this library. So there's the radiant heating and all that kind of stuff. Now that library is 17,000 square feet. They're open 44 hours a week. So it's a very different animal, and they've been around a long, long, long time. So I used some of their mechanical stuff, and I took 40% of their budget around some of that kind of stuff. What I came up with is the library expenses, without putting the bond numbers in, because just to make a comparison with the present one, would come out to be at $111,626. But the other piece is, with the referendum and the library, you bring a fundraising organization. And I think we can raise $48,000 toward the operating expenses. We will be in the 4th gayless silent auction by that time. We'll be in our 2nd or 3rd pig roast, or whatever we decide to roast in June.
Let's hope it's not the trustees of the library.
Well, there's only 2 of them, so.
We wouldn't go very far.
Yeah.
I mean, I apologize for interrupting.
That's all right.
I think I think the numbers certainly that you've put together are probably reasonable. My caution is that you don't underestimate the fact that the townspeople, if in fact they pass this, are saying, let's go build this $3 million structure, because ultimately that's what it is, and then not have the structure open, okay? So I don't think that you can make the determination that we're only gonna be somewhere in the neighborhood of what we do today, or maybe a little bit better. I think if you're gonna build this kind of structure, you better plan on a 44, 48-hour week.
Well,
right?
I mean, I can do the numbers.
So all I'm saying
Yeah.
is that that's like building a school, which we typically do when we put kids in 180 days,
Mhm.
right? And one of the arguments always has been is let's do year-round school, or whatever the case may be, and use the facilities. We're gonna invest in this facility.
Mhm.
I would guess that there will be some level of demand that, I mean, it's not like you're going for a service organization. This is a,
Well,
as you say, it's a library, community center, cultural play. I mean, there will be some demands above and beyond anything that we've imagined at this point.
well, I assume 32 hours, and assume that over each year we would increase those hours, so 3 or 4 years down the line, you'd be up to 45 or 50 hours. Your
And again,
point
I
may
don't
be
think
well taken.
Right, I don't think you can give I mean, I think you got a public hearing, there might be multiple public hearings. I think you gotta put as much of this out there as you can. It's just not Pam asking the question.
No, I mean, they're
Right,
bigger
I
questions.
really think it's a whole
I mean, the operating
scope
budget,
of things, right?
right. So, I mean, maybe we should plan on 40 hours, but I'm also conscious, since I've listened to enough of your meetings, of your struggles with balancing the municipal budget. And you've got,
Well, what the municipality may fund may be different than what the annual operating costs are, right? To your point, there's a fundraising
operation,
mechanism
yes.
in place. Then you get into, okay, we've got these, is it a municipal library, or is it a Waterboro Public Library that may very well be, the funding certainly comes from, the structure may come from a municipal bond, but, there's a lot of libraries that don't receive the majority of their operating costs from municipalities, right?
I think we're pretty far from being able to raise that kind of money.
All I'm
Yeah.
saying is
My
I think
perspective,
you
it's
gotta
a-
lay that, I think you gotta lay all that stuff out. Are you gonna have the finite absolute numbers? Absolutely not, but I
No.
think you're gonna have to address some of that as people ask those questions.
I think
I agree.
you can look at the 32 hours in the 2012-13 season, the opening of the new library if it passes. But as Dennis said, people are going to say, okay, we've got this beautiful structure, let's use it. And certainly it's going to go, if it, in the next year or 2 years, what a 40-hour-a-week structure, 40-hour-a-week operation budget costs, or a 45-hour-a-week operational budget, that I think we can come up with that. It may look like, rather than 111,000, it may be 170,000. But with that 170,000, you're getting 30% more time in there. You know. So you can do kind of here's a minimal piece here, and here's what it probably will evolve
I mean,
into.
I have the numbers from Ruth, so it's a multiplication
I
question.
think you go back to when, before we trimmed hours and all of that stuff, that's what you gotta use as a baseline.
Yeah, that
Probably
was
not
what,
what we're doing
that-
now, but.
I think you opened before that, 35? Is that what the library was?
Changed so much.
Yeah.
couldn't
I don't know.
Anyway, I
Anyway,
think
yes, your
you're
point
right.
is well taken. No, we need to think of more than 32 hours. I see it as a municipal library, and the Friends making a contribution by raising money. Maybe someplace down the line, they'll get big enough and they can,
Who knows?
do what some others do. Bridget and I were on vacation in Camden, and we obviously dropped into the Camden Library. They have a $700,000 budget, but they've got a park and oceanfront
A
property.
little different.
It's a different ballgame.
Different venue. So these are all things, perhaps at the public hearing at the end of
They'll
September, you could kind of
Put it
have
all
a
out there.
different, and you also have some videos that should be available soon.
Well, they're ready now. I just got the last two. Watercat Productions has done 3 sets of videos for us.
Pretty ironic.
Yeah, yes, it is. One is a very brief introduction thing. One is an extensive interview with me where I basically go through the building and a lot of library information stuff. And they have 4 interviews with different people in town. They're available. We'll have the reference on the website, but it's pretty easy to get to, and people can take a look at it. Yeah, so we've got all that. We'll put all that stuff out there.
Hopefully, November is actually very
It's-
quickly approaching.
Yes.
And hopefully people get informed about the issue prior to November.
Well, I mean,
and
I
certainly-
empathize with this man's back here about people not knowing they have water problems. I'd hate to do a poll and see how many people know we're trying to build a library.
All relative, isn't it?
Yeah.
So to go back to your question, yes, I have made a crack at it. And if you're interested, I can email you the 4 pages, and you can work with it. But it's,
I think the figure that you quoted gives people an idea, and I think that that's all they're looking for right
Yeah.
now is, something that they can reasonably afford.
it's a,
And,
it's a broad estimate. I mean, with all the data you folks have, if you try to project what your budget is 2 years from now, it's
things
ballpark. Yeah.
Oil costs go
Oh,
up.
Yeah.
we'll be right on.
You'll be right on. You're so good, Dennis.
All right, so
All right.
September 28th, we'll see you.
September 28th is the informational public hearing, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Bridget.
Well,
Next under new business is discuss vote library referendum. The actual verbiage of the question is still being worked on. The intent of this on the agenda tonight is simply to vote that we will put an item on the November ballot for the library referendum. We all did receive a draft copy from Nancy a few weeks ago, and we're just waiting for Nancy and Julie to get together to plug in some of the final numbers. So what is the pleasure of the board with this?
I would make a motion that we place the issue of the Waterboro Library on the referendum ballot in November. Let the voters decide what they want to do.
Is there a second to that?
There's a second.
Any discussion?
I have some real issues without, very concerned about water. I don't know how many people in town understand the situation that they're all facing. Certainly, I support a library. I think it's the wrong site. And I would hate to see something go through and, I don't know, I just have a lot of concerns about this vote. And without knowing some answers. Not
Tonight would just be the putting it on the ballot.
I know, and I am concerned about going to the ballot and people today, they live in a little castle.
Mhm.
You know, they don't know what the hell's going on. And it concerns me.
That's not gonna change, though, David.
No.
Oh,
I mean,
well,
how do
it's-
you,
it's-
with any issue in town, how, you can't, you run into this with the
I
recycling
know,
committee. How
I
do
know.
you force feed people information, you know?
Well, I don't feel like putting something out there that's gonna cause a problem, more than likely. I feel it's a water problem. Okay, I don't care what the engineers say, what the DEP says, the groundwater flows certain directions. And it's going towards the development, so, you know.
I think also with this referendum, it's raising $2 million, probably plus what you're paying for the bank over the next
2
20
million.
years too.
The bond is for 2 million, and then with the interest, it's
And the
just over
interest is
3
thrown in.
million.
Okay, but it's for the construction of the library. It's not for the construction of the library at the proposed site. So if that passes and there's $2 million there's another, close to another $1 million that's been raised by the Friends. I realize that 300,000 of the 1.2 or something like that is the land value. So let's say 900,000 or $800,000 or $900,000 raise. So you've got 2.8 million dollars to build a library. Now, if it comes down in the next year, that site really needs to be moved. Now you've got some scurrying to do to find another site. Hopefully you get some people to give land, or moving the site and having it, or we find out that actually the school is built unfortunately is built a huge burn that the little library, the water is not going to be able to flow across the school to get to Old Elton Road. It's going to be flowing in a different direction. Whatever, we're going to get that information later. This referendum is to build a library.
And the referendum does not specify the location
It doesn't specify the location.
necessarily of the library.
I'd be real careful of that,
Yeah,
that way of thinking, because if
that's,
all bets are off. You're back to architectural drawings, you're back to talking to your donors. If you have a new drawing, a new stuff, do you want to support this? You're talking, going back to your granting organizations that says this is what, and you're looking for people who have the energy to do it for the next 5 years. And I don't know where you're going to find
No,
them.
I think you're right, Jack. I think it is what it is.
It is
right?
what it is.
We got land donated. There may be a problem. I think we all know that certainly the water table is not the optimum in that area, but that all being said, there could be houses built in this area. There's nothing to preclude that. So I think the challenge is as this thing gets going, is to solve the issue so that you don't dump, $500,000, 5,000 surface feet of water collection into a full aquifer or a full groundwater thing, okay? And I think that's the challenge that will have to be met.
And I think we need to acknowledge that the money is there. It's in the construction costs. That's what that contingency
There's a
money is for.
contingency to address.
The unexpected, you find an archaeological site, you find ledge, you find...
And there is a remote possibility that when all said and done, this doesn't work.
Right, and if you get there, then we'll deal with
I
that.
think you're a long ways away from that.
well, how do you know it's not gonna work?
I don't think that, I personally don't think that there's really, I think you have everything going for you and the property will work. Right? It's a matter of how do you deal with, we're not talking about building another school. We're not.
The school is not gonna deal with the problem
I
then.
understand that, okay? But the fact of the matter is that we're not gonna, in this property, if this thing goes through, it's gonna be scrutinized by planning board and the DEP and everybody else to the nth degree because there's a motion, right? that wasn't there necessarily, even though the neighborhood was emotional the first time. I think there's a lot more emotion now of what's going on in in those properties, right? So I think, you know, there's a solution to everything. It depends on how much money you want to spend. And I personally believe that whatever water gets shedded off of this is gonna affect those people in the old Roberts Field, or whatever the heck it was called.
Ballinger Drive.
Not on Ballinger Drive, more than it will ever affect the people on Old Alfred Road.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a layman's look at that.
Okay.
Because I know that field, the back part of that field, is subject to getting wet, just like Willis said.
I was walking down there a little while ago, and you walk from the site of the library, and you walk up onto the athletic fields in the school. I mean, in order to get to Old Alfred Road, you got to go across the school.
Yeah.
So there's your dam right there.
Groundwater, John.
What's this?
Groundwater.
I know,
It
but
goes
groundwater
under the
doesn't,
ground.
it doesn't run uphill. And the school is uphill from that spot.
Yeah.
No, what David's talking
crap.
about is the water that seeps into the ground and then ends up coming back up. Not necessarily runoff, but more seepage.
Yeah, oh yeah, but again,
Flows up.
this is a fairly small, and we don't, you know, we're just projecting here.
Yeah.
This is a fairly small site.
I had a lot
Fairly
of
small
reservations
site.
going to the townspeople and getting, and signing up to a $2 million bond. Got nothing to do with whether it's the right lot.
Yeah.
Got everything to do with whether or not this municipality can afford it.
Right.
That's another issue, all right? I think what we said was, are we not gonna take this to the voter?
Yeah.
Right? And say, is now the right time or not? They're the ones gonna vote on it.
That's right.
You could have somebody, the minute this thing gets on a referendum ballot, there's gonna be people saying it's the wrong site, there's gonna be people saying it's the wrong time, you're gonna have people saying it's the right place, and it's the right time, and there's no other, you know, so.
So we have a motion, we have a second, we've had discussion. All those in favor of placing the construction of the new library on the November ballot? Opposed? Are you abstaining?
I'm abstaining.
What does
Okay.
that do to your process?
You can only abstain legally if there's a conflict of interest.
I vote against it.
Well, then we need to come back to that, because it needs to be unanimous vote at this stage, doesn't it?
Yes.
So we need to, we've got 2 weeks. That, I don't know where we go, David.
I don't either.
Maybe it's over.
So this covers it.
We have, by September 14th was the date that we had to make a,
Well, Nancy told me the 21st, the same date that the nomination papers have to be in. That's what Nancy told me.
do we have a meeting before then? Other than the 14th?
That's why we schedule it now, so that we.
If there were any
it was a-
issues.
It was a majority vote, not a unanimous vote.
But there would be time to still submit.
That's right.
That's why we said we had to do it.
Right.
I think you have to do the majority vote, I think, was back in August. It's 90 days, I think, from the,
We had this discussion, it was before David got elected, so it's not, certainly doesn't carry over from one board to the next. So David's had the right to vote the way he wants. to.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I have no doubt, no problem with that. I guess my question is, what might help you resolve your concerns? And maybe you don't know tonight, and maybe we need to come back.
I need to think about this, and I have very sincere concerns for the water issue.
I hear that.
You know? Maybe I'm being egotistical and thinking the public won't be knowledgeable and take the time to learn what is going on here.
That's a given, Dave.
I know, and I mean, it's just a lot riding here, and I know you guys have worked hard, and I need, just give me some time to think.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
And be happy to sit down and talk with you, and if we can figure out what you need, we can try to see if we can meet your concerns. Maybe we can't, I don't know.
We've taken a vote. We had an abstention, which we can't have an abstention. Dennis, you've got a little bit more experience than I do with this kind of procedure. Would we have to rescind the vote and table it to next week?
If we need a unanimous vote, then
I'm glad none of us can talk tonight.
I would suggest that we bring it, if David needs some time to think about this, we bring it back next week.
Mm-hmm.
Do you let tonight's vote stand and then just vote
No,
again?
I think we don't have a unanimous vote, so we don't have a vote to move it forward. So there's no reason we can't bring that, and we've got one select person is saying, I'd like to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
That's fair.
That's fair, and then we bring it back on next week's agenda.
Are you
Madam
comfortable with
Yeah.
that?
Madam Chairwoman, I don't think that we have a valid vote anyway, because if it has to be unanimous, wouldn't it serve to say that if it had to be unanimous positive, it would also have to be unanimous negative
No.
to
It
fail?
has to be not unanimous in the positive for the issue to go on the ballot.
You do
If
not
it is
have-
not unanimous, then the issue doesn't go on the ballot.
So you
It's
don't
that
have
simple.
a valid vote to put it on the ballot.
All right.
All you can do is bring it back next week, or if we're gonna run out of runway.
Yeah, you've got 2 weeks, basically.
No pressure, David.
Pressure doesn't bother me.
And I should.
Can I buy you a
His
beer?
conscience rules.
So,
You know, David, I spent my whole adult life helping people make decisions based on their own integrity. Doesn't stop tonight. You figure out what you need to do. And let's talk and see if we can figure out what would let you move forward.
fair enough.
Okay?
And that's going to be a difficult decision to, I appreciate that you're voting your conscience. Moving on to old business, we've had an update on committee PSAs. Has anybody been able to get in to see David
I'm
to,
gonna meet with the folks tomorrow night,
okay?
and I will try to set something up and get David going on the conference.
Okay. Gordon?
I have not met with David yet.
Okay. David?
I'm gonna meet with John tomorrow night.
Okay.
He's the other part, so.
Thank you very much, folks.
Good night, Jack.
Thank you.
And see if we can get something going.
Okay, John?
I'm sorry, I missed
Your committee PSA?
that is, I will be meeting with the Finance Committee at their meeting next Monday.
Okay.
So I'll be talking with them at that point about it.
Okay, so I think it's still all on our radar, so that's a good thing. We needed to add an executive session to the end of the agenda this evening, so I would entertain a motion to add an executive session per 1 MRSA 4056A personnel matter.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Other this evening, we have signed warrants for bills and payroll.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the warrants and payroll, except to hold the check for the Waterboro water district until we can meet with the administrator. Not sure why we're paying them 100% of the water bill in the third month of the calendar year, or the fiscal year. So I would request that we hold that check.
Okay.
I'll second his motion as made.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? All right, and then we have the minutes for 8/31/10.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? All right, pending decisions, we're supposed to have the committee PSAs under that, so we'll make sure that that gets moved. The week's action list, everybody's going to continue working on their PSAs.
Hold the check.
Yep, hold the check, I've got that. I'll write it right on
The check is
warrant.
not in the mail.
We've got the bids that are going to go to Sebago Tech.
That would be Owens McCullough.
Owens McCullough. Owens Haskell is a contractor.
Next
Yeah,
week's
that's what I
agenda,
did that.
so what you're looking at.
Then we're looking at discussion for next week's agenda. We have the PACE ordinance discussion to have. We received a request from Sanford Police Department, who's now taken dispatch and separated it out. They're forming an advisory committee, and they would like to have a couple people appointed from Waterboro to serve on that advisory committee. Gordon, you interested in that?
I'm interested in that.
So we need to have a discussion about that, and I think we need to bring the fire chief in for that discussion. We'll discuss potentially the library vote, David. You know, maybe we can touch base on Friday and see how you're feeling about that. Anything else for next week's agenda?
What about the growth,
Growth ordinance?
yeah,
I'd like to know why, I mean, other than that we should be looking at it every 3 years, what does the ordinance say that we're supposed to do?
I think you set, because of the data, you set what the
Understand
limit
that,
is.
But what does the ordinance say?
A certain percentage, I think.
Because that's we, you,
Well,
I
average.
can't imagine it would be going up.
maybe what we'll do is we'll get Patty to come back in. We'll get everybody a copy of the ordinance this week, so we have an opportunity to review it. Nancy will be back. John, would you mind if we put that off to the 21st?
I
So
have no
Nancy
problem
had a
with that.
chance
No.
to...
No.
Anything else for the agenda next week?
Or something will come up.
Okay. For reminders this week, we have tomorrow night at 6 p.m. is the 2020 Comprehensive Plan Committee. They're meeting at the Central Fire Station. I understand David Lowe and Dennis Abbott are guest speakers.
What I saw on the agenda, I'm not sure much guest speaking that'll be done, but
Tomorrow night at 6 p.m., the Road Review Committee. That's at the Town Hall up in the EMA Road Review Office. Thursday, September 9th at 7 p.m. is the Taylor House Board meeting at the Taylor House. And I believe we're all supposed to be meeting this Thursday night for goal setting at 6 p.m. It's not on the agenda, so we'll have to make sure that that gets posted.
I'm not sure if I can make that out. Try.
Okay. Saturday, September 11th is the cribbage tournament at Town Hall at 8:30. Monday, September 13th, 7 p.m. is the Finance Committee meeting at Town Hall. Also on Monday at 7 p.m. is the Parks and Rec Committee at Town Hall, and the Cemetery Committee at 7 p.m. at Town Hall. Tuesday, September 14th at 6 p.m., the Selectmen's meeting in Town Hall Annex. Reporting is the Planning Board, the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Town Planner. I would entertain a motion to go into our first of 2 executive sessions.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all those in favor? And following the
Good night,
executive
David.
sessions, we will